Welcome, my friends. Welcome. My name is Drake, and this is Touching the Edge. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being part of this process, this 40-day process that's really going by quite quickly. This 40-day process of focusing on how to get unstuck, how to get unblocked, and begin to move to make progress to what we really want to be and who we really are authentically in our hearts. And so for me, I have to suggest, or I've actually been experiencing really deep frustration and sometimes despair, sometimes sort of an anxiety. And that comes from seeing things I see in the world. When I see the incredible drug addiction in all of our major cities, and not just in the cities, even in small towns, where you see elements of drug addiction, homelessness, where you can just see people doing so poorly that it's heartbreaking. When I see the inequalities or the corruption in our government and our legal system, when I see conflict around the world or changes to the natural world, changes to the climate, or even seeing elements like, for instance, gorillas being on the point of being at extinction, or orangutans, or so many different incredible animals. And so it's easy for me to get sucked out of myself in that feeling of almost a despair of what's going on. And so I want to suggest to you that being sucked out of yourself is one of the best ways to stay stuck. We have to find some way of balancing the inner and the outer world. Having the ability, right when we see these things, not to hide from what we're seeing, but not be so absorbed that we actually can't find solutions. It doesn't really matter what you have, in your presence. If you have a book and you have this book and it's in front of your face everywhere you go, even if it's a good book, even if it's an important book, you're not going to have the ability to see what's really there. So I want to suggest that balancing the inner and the outer world is recognizing that whatever we see going on out there, if we don't balance it by going deep in here, we're not going to be able to make good choices. You can be right and wrong at the same time. In fact, you can have very strong commitments to social justice or whatever you want to see in the world, but you can be so much an antagonist that you actually repel people from really working to understand where you're coming from. This is my perspective. And so I want to suggest balancing the inner and the outer world really means balancing the relationship between your emotions and your inner world. So one of my teachers suggested that the thoughts and emotions, that who you are is a consistency. You're the denominator, not the numerator. And what changes is the outer world. So in that framing, your thoughts and emotions are always changing. They are the clouds that are moving in the sky. You are the sky itself. And so I want to suggest that when you have these powerful emotions, the ability to notice subtlety in the midst of intensity is self-mastery. So not to get sucked into the emotion where all of a sudden you're seeing the whole world through the film of that emotion, but having the ability that when you sense the emotion, to take a step back and focus on the subtle, so that you end up being outside of the emotion rather than being in the emotion. Doing elements right when you feel a charge that allow you to get present and experience what the charge is, but not be so reactionary to the charge. Making sure that you're coming from your authenticity and your real values, rather than getting so absorbed in what's happening that you lose the ability to focus on where you want to go. You're more focused in the conflict. I'm not saying that we shouldn't set limits or work for solutions, but we have to focus on the solutions rather than the conflict. We have to focus on, at least in my perception, on the realization that our judgment is part of the ill health. Finding a way to balance the inner and the outer world is about learning to do visceral, overwhelming practice as soon as you feel yourself unbalanced. Doing affirmations, doing breathing techniques, doing elements to activate your posture, to visualize positive outcomes right when you feel the initiation of the charge. Don't wait. Just like drinking, you don't wait to drink when you're thirsty. When you feel that disturbance, don't wait to shift to balance the inner and the outer world. So what are you doing? What are you doing to activate practice? What are you doing to be part of the solution rather than just another person attacking? Because to me, the attack is not effective. We have to find a way to get around the situation in order to not be blocked by the situation. So let us know what you're doing to activate your practice. I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ask you to listen carefully. Here we go. We can't do anything when we're out of balance. We can't walk. We can't do anything. So balance the inner and the outer world. The outer world is not more important than the inner. I bring my hands into prayer position and I bow to you. Namaste. Thank you.